In a market filled with questions, where can you find the answers? This is the Kratom Report. We bring you in-depth analysis of lab tests, critical updates on legal battles, and the latest industry news. No hype, just facts, helping you navigate the world of Kratom safely and confidently. Welcome to the Kratom Report.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping straight into some information, detailed lab test for a Kratom product.
Yeah, that's right. We're looking specifically at the results from ACS Labs for Kratom Earth's Super Green Malay. The sample number is AGO159, and the test was completed back on April 23rd, 2025.
Okay, Kratom Earth. They're a Canadian vendor, and, they talk quite a bit about their quality commitment. Things like 100% organic sourcing, lab testing for over 10 years in both Indonesia and Canada, really pushing the high standards for potency, especially Mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine.
Definitely. But what makes this test really interesting, I think, is where it came from. Kratom We Trust, or KWT. They're independent, focused entirely on, consumer empowerment, giving people clear info.
Right. Their whole mission is transparency in the Kratom market.
Exactly. So KWT, they anonymously buy products like this Kratom Earth Super Green Malay, and then they commission their own full panel third-party testing. And they publish everything, the good and the bad, so users can see it. This test, independently sourced, independently funded by them, all for transparency.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. Let's really dig into this specific lab test. What's it actually telling us about this product? And maybe more importantly, what does it mean for you, the informed Kratom user who's, concerned about safety and knowing what's really in the bag?
Okay. Good place to start is probably the basic safety checks, microbial contaminants, and the news here is pretty good, actually. The Kratom Earth sample passed these tests. No E. Coli detected in a gram, no Salmonella either.
That's fundamental, obviously. Yeah. You definitely don't want those. What about things like general bacteria counts, yeast, mold?
Yeah, they checked those too. Aerobic bacteria came in at 4,100,000 CFUG.
CFUG, colony-forming units per gram.
Right. It's just a measure of active bacteria. Now, the action level, the point where it becomes a concern, is way higher. It's 10,000 CFUG. So 4.1 million is well within that range.
Okay.
Coliforms were also low, less than 100 CFUG, which is below the level they could even quantify properly. Again, way below the action level of 10,000. And yeast and mold were at 1,000 CFUG, with that action level also up at 10,000. So, microbially speaking, looks okay.
All right, so checks out on the basic safety front. Let's move on to the part many users are really interested in, the alkaloids, the active compounds. What did the test show there?
Well, the mitragynine level was 1.448%. That translates to about 14.48 milligrams per gram.
Which is often seen as a key indicator for potency, right?
It is for many people. And then there's 7-hydroxymitragynine, or 7-OH. That was much lower, 0.04944%, or about half a milligram per gram. But even in small amounts, 7-OH is known to be quite potent.
And it wasn't just those two. Were there others?
Oh, yeah. Painanthine was found at 0.7914%, speciosilietine at 0.4672%, and speciogeninin at 0.4289%. These all add to the plant's overall effect profile. Interestingly, some others they looked for, like coranoxine B, isohrincophyllene, metrophyllene, they were below the limit of quantitation.
Meaning too low to measure accurately.
Pretty much, yeah. So the total detectable alkaloids added up to 3.185%. Seems like a, fairly standard, potentially potent alkaloid profile for a super green Malay.
It does sound that way initially. But this is where the story takes a pretty serious turn. And it really underlines why just looking at alkaloid numbers, isn't enough. We have to talk about the heavy metals testing.
Absolutely crucial. This is a vital part of any comprehensive safety panel. So the lab tested for several heavy metals.
Okay.
Good news first. Arsenic, cadmium, mercury were all below the limit of quantitation. That's what you want to see.
Okay, good. But
the levels of lead and manganese in this specific sample are, frankly, extremely concerning. Let's take lead first. The test detected lead, PBB, at 2,438.304 parts per billion ppb.
Okay, 2,400 ppb. What's the reference point? What's considered the limit?
The action level for lead is 1,000 ppb.
Wow. So this is more than double.
More than double the recommended limit. And it's so important to understand there's just no safe level of lead exposure, period. It's a neurotoxin. It builds up in your body over time.
Yeah.
It can cause really serious health issues, even with ongoing low-level exposure.
Yeah.
Kratom We Trust specifically flagged this result. They said it doesn't meet their safety expectations. That's a big red flag.
Absolutely alarming. Okay, so that's lead. You mentioned manganese, too.
Yeah, manganese. And the level here was just Staggering. 2,622,952.955 ppb.
Wait, read that again?
2.6 million parts per billion.
2.000,000. What's the action level for manganese?
It's 900,000 ppb.
So almost 3 times the limit.
Almost 3 times the established safety guideline, yeah. Now look, manganese is an essential nutrient our bodies need tiny amounts, but at levels this high, it can also act as a neurotoxin. It poses significant health risks, especially neurological problems with long-term exposure.
So let me get this straight. The sample passed microbial tests, had a decent alkaloid profile.
Seemingly, yes.
But then you've got this dangerously high lead level and this extremely high manganese level. Those are serious safety issues.
They really are, and this just perfectly illustrates why comprehensive testing, a full panel testing that goes beyond just alkaloids, is so incredibly important.
How do things like lead and manganese even get into kratom?
Well, there are a few ways. It could be environmental. The soil where the trees grow might be contaminated. That's a common issue for many agricultural products, unfortunately. Or it could potentially be introduced during harvesting, drying, grinding, or even storage if the equipment isn't clean, or if there are contaminants in the processing environment.
Right, so without testing specifically for these metals, you just never know they were there at these levels.
Exactly, you simply wouldn't know.
And that's what you, as an informed user, need to be looking for in lab reports, isn't it? Not just the mitragynine percentage. You need to actively check for heavy metals results, microbial results. Those are the real safety indicators.
Precisely. Which brings us back to Kratom We Trust and the role they play. Their whole approach, independent testing, publishing all results, is just so vital for creating transparency in this market.
Yeah, and it's not about, like, attacking Kratom Earth specifically.
No, not at all. It's using this real-world example, this data point, to show why this kind of vigilance and broad testing is needed everywhere for consumer protection.
And, maybe this gives Kratom Earth some concrete data, an opportunity to look into their supply chain for this specific super Green Malay. They can investigate, maybe figure out where these metals are coming from, and hopefully address it for future batches.
That would be the ideal outcome, yes. And for you listening, if you want to see the actual report we're discussing, the full lab results for this Kratom Earth Super Green Malay sample AGO 159, it's right there on KratomWeTrust.com. You can see the numbers for yourself. They also have tests for other vendors, lots of information. It's a really valuable resource if you're trying to learn more about kratom safety.
Okay, so let's quickly summarize the key points from this deep dive. This particular sample of Kratom Earth Super Green Malay, it passed the basic microbial safety checks. No E. coli, no Salmonella, other counts within limits, and it showed significant levels of key alkaloids, like mitragynine, that users often look for.
But the heavy metals were a major issue. The lead level was alarmingly high, over twice the safety limit, and the manganese level was extremely high, nearly 3 times the limit. These are significant safety concerns you just can't overlook.
It really just hammers home how critical independent full panel lab testing is. It's essential for your safety and for bringing transparency to the whole industry. Without that kind of detailed testing, potentially harmful stuff like this could just slip through completely unnoticed.
Absolutely. And it leaves you with a pretty important question to think about, doesn't it? If this batch had high lead and manganese, what other hidden contaminants might be present in other kratom products out there if they aren't being subjected to this kind of rigorous independent testing?
Yeah. It really pushes you to be a critical consumer, to look carefully at the information vendors provide, or maybe what they don't provide, and to prioritize those who are clearly committed to comprehensive testing and being transparent about the results.
Definitely. So we'd really encourage you to check out resources like KratomWeTrust.com. Deepen your own understanding, look at the data, and use it to make safer, more informed choices for yourself.
All right, that wraps up this edition of the Kratom Report. Knowledge is power, especially in the kratom world, right? If this report helped you, smash that like button. Want more deep dives, honest analysis, and the latest kratom intel? Then hit subscribe and ring that bell. You won't want to miss what we uncover next. Curious about the data or want to explore more? All our references, sources, and links are waiting for you in the description box right below this video. What are your thoughts? Drop a comment. Let's discuss. Thanks for tuning in to the Kratom Report. Stay informed, stay safe.